Hello, everyone. How are you? Good evening. Good Thursday evening. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for joining Mariah and I for another, I think, really exciting episode of Soil, Soul, and Spirit. Tonight, we are talking about falling into freedom. And I just want you to know from the gate, Mariah and I are so excited about this. If you're new to the show, this is a Third Thursdays podcast where Mariah and I come together to talk about the intersections between nature and spirituality and health and well being. I'm Angel Shannon, founder and executive director of Siva Health and the Siva Institute. I'm the host of the show, and my beautiful co host, Mariah Palmer, is a wonderful, wonderful spirit guided by nature in everything that she does. Mariah, if you'll just introduce yourself to folks who are new here.
Yes, welcome everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for the lovely introduction as well. I am a student of this life and a lover of the natural world. And I feel our main purpose here is to kind of create those bridges between us and the natural world and see how it can enhance our growth and our knowledge of self and our place in this world. I'm so happy to be
Wonderful.
here.
Thank you so much for joining me again, Mariah. So let's jump right in because we want to make sure that we really touch on this concept of falling into freedom. And I want to kick this off by first talking about what is happening in the natural world around us. We're here in the Northern Hemisphere in Maryland, where we're about to enter into autumn or fall. And there's a whole lot going on in nature that we want to tie together with what's going on within ourselves, right? This whole concept of falling into freedom and transitioning into this next season in our lives. So, Mariah is going to take us on this journey, the first part of our journey, to talk about, like, Mariah, what is going on in nature? What's happening around us with our trees, our plants? And when we think about autumn, we almost always think about trees, right?
Yes, I think it's hard not to,
Hmm.
because I feel like they're a major indicator to the seasons changing. And firstly, I'd love to start by saying trees are wise. They
Yes.
have been here a really, really long time. And again, we have so much to learn from them. And going into this season, essentially what's happening, I know it was a warmer day today if you're here in Maryland, but in general, what's happening is there is a reduction of temperature, right? And sun duration. So slowly, you'll notice the days are getting, or the duration of daylight, sunlight is shorter and shorter by the day. Every minute, every day, it's adjusting and lessening by a few minutes. And the trees, they're all aware of that. So what they start to do is essentially take all of the energy, water that is stored in their leaves, where they're typically photosynthesizing, they send that to the stems and then to the trunk and then to the root system to better conserve water and energy. And they do this every single year, if you are where we are. And they know that they'll come back in the spring stronger than they were before. And I just think it's the most beautiful process to witness. Um, as I learned recently that September is the largest kind of shift or range in sun duration. So, for example, we know right after the solstice, we have this gradual, this other half, right? And specifically in September, September 1st to September 30th, there is a drastic difference in that length of sun that we're getting. It's the biggest in our 12-year calendar. So it's a major shift, but it is something to be welcomed. And I think the trees remind us of that. So,
I think that is such a powerful metaphor. And when you said that to me in conversation,
mhm,
that the trees know exactly what they have to do. when the sunlight begins to shorten, the days begin to shorten, it's just automatically they know what they have to do. And if you think about that metaphorically, knowing what we have to do, when
Yes.
we're moving into a new season, whether physically, you know, in nature or moving into a new season in our lives, knowing intuitively, knowing that biologically we are built for transition. We're built for
Mm,
change. We're built for that transformation. And deep inside of us, there are thousands of little codes, DNA, mental, physical, spiritual, all kinds of codes going off within us that we're already pre-wired for. And it's just knowing and returning to that wisdom that we already have everything that we need to transition to that next season, whether it be this physical season, you know, or even just a psychological season or spiritual season in our lives. So I just wanted to tie that in there together because nature, and we are nature, right? Nature is
yes.
us. We're not a part of that. And it's something we say all the time, Mariah and I on this podcast. We are nature. We're not part of. It's all interwoven, right? And so nature just really is a mirror of who we are, and we are a mirror of what nature is. So I just wanted to draw that parallel to what you were saying about that.
Yes. And I think anytime, at least for myself, when I feel misaligned or confused, if you take some time to connect with the trees, they'll probably tell you everything that you've forgotten. And I think that's what is the humanness in us, right? These like fluctuations and I think nature typically has all the answers and is like, okay, return to self, your breath, lean inward. Um,
Awesome.
and this fall transition is a beautiful one.
It
I
is.
used to dread it. I used to dread it. I will say honestly, but it's a beautiful time to really see what that this season has for us, because what autumn has for us is different than spring, and spring different than winter, right? And so that's where I feel like it's really just calling us to lean inward and redevelop that knowledge that's already there. A simple reminder.
Exactly. And that concept of drawing in, as you said, they're drawing those nutrients into the roots, into the trunk, knowing that hard days are coming, right? Cold days are coming, hard days are coming. It's time to really draw in all of those nutrients that have been gained throughout the spring, throughout the summer. So we can think of it as, what are our nutrients? What wisdom have we gained throughout the previous seasons, throughout spring, throughout summer? Maybe summer was a time for us when we spent a lot of time with friends or family or with husbands or wives or such. What did we learn? What did we gain? And so now is a really good time to really draw those lessons inward and start thinking about, what we need for sustenance to sustain ourselves
Mm,
for the colder or harder days, whether they be physically colder days or even just mentally harder days, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I must say, Angel, as you're saying this, I'm a lot is coming to mind, but I realize similarly to the trees, I find myself collecting knowledge, right? Collecting the hobbies, collecting, kind of making a plan for how I will approach winter, right? Because just as it's tough for the trees, it can be tough for some of us. Less light, less warmth, yes, maybe less friends, connecting events, right? Less travel, maybe. But this is, I think, autumn calls us to prepare, to kind of
Yes.
reflect and prepare for what we would love to carry into the season, and letting go of what we don't, right? Those leaves, sometimes they take a lot of energy actually to sustain. So we have to drop them and draw into our roots. And
Exactly.
it's not easy, but it's a very necessary process. So,
And we talked about the trees, but even the grasses. I was thinking about the fact that, right now for turf management, uh, this is the season for aerating the lawn and also seeding. So it's the time now that there's, cooler temperatures to start your seeding. So those folks who are watching, if you have grass or lawn, this is the time that you want to aerate that lawn and, poke some holes in there. There's a machine that you use to aerate, or you call someone to do that. You aerate the lawn, you giving it some air, allowing, creating these pockets, and then you're seeding. So you're seeding and you're watering and you're preparing for that germination to take place, and hopefully in spring have a beautiful lawn if turf is your thing. But this is the season for that as well. So the grass we will see will die off, but grass is so incredibly resilient if it's watered and properly seeded, and you have your fertilizer and lime and all those kinds of things. You will be very happy to see your lawn come back brighter, bolder, bigger, thicker. So this is really at that season of preparation. And I, like Mariah, used to feel very sad about the leaf. Oh gosh, it would just make me so sad to see the trees so bare and things like this. But, you know, growing in my own spirituality and my own wisdom has allowed me to see that it is just part of a larger human experience, that it's just one of those things. And then, drawing from ancient spiritual practices as well, that in other cultures, this is really a very robust season as well for celebration and harvest and all of that kind of thing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Truly. I, again, I'm just happy to see the beauty in it because it wasn't so easy to see before.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
fun to approach these challenges, right? As with a curious mind
Yes.
and understand, why am I dreading this? Let's lean a little deeper.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think this discussion is so important
Hmm.
for that.
I think so too. And folks, if you're watching now with us live or if you're watching the replay, just want you to know that we've got some really insightful resources for you. So be sure, I want to just put that out here, to be sure to click the link in the show description after the broadcast, because we've got some really good journal prompts that are going to tie into what we're going to segue into now, which is what is happening with ourselves. The concept of falling into freedom. And I posted this on Instagram, and I also wrote about this in this week's issue of Mindset Mastery. And it's this quote that I really, really love. It's sometimes you have to forget what you feel and remember what you deserve. And I just felt like it was so perfect for tonight's discussion. Sometimes you have to forget what you feel and remember what you deserve. And this ties in perfectly with this concept of freedom. And I think that the first question we ask ourselves is, what does freedom look like for me? What does freedom mean and what does freedom look like for me? Before we get into the talk about letting go, it's important to decide, what does freedom look like? What does it feel like? You know, Mariah, do you want to say something about that?
I just love that question.
Yeah.
Think about when you're asking yourself that question, think about all of your senses and just really get in touch with your body. What feels good and what doesn't, right? What would we like to I think freedom, right, isn't just something that we want to yearn for or look to, but to literally become freedom. And there's so many different things, pressures, uh, politics, financial, there's so many different things that make it hard to even, you hear the word freedom and you're like, huh, I'm not capable of that. But you are, it's within you. And I think it just takes a little bit of digging. So for me personally, right, we all know we have bills to pay, we've got responsibilities to uphold, right? But for me, a simple act of feeling free, I guess, is almost synonymous with joy. So if I can find joy, a little pocket of joy in that responsibility or that thing or that person, even, then that I will feel more free, right? For me, freedom is a lack of anxiety and rigidity, and rather joy and intentional flow. And I'm grateful to feel freer today than I've ever felt in my life. And I think there's this gradual kind of, again, I almost feel like I'm becoming it. And that's why we're having this conversation, to kind of extend some of those tools over to you all. It's
Yeah.
very possible. And even if it feels like it isn't right now, I think it's just there's steps, right?
Exactly.
To get you kind of there. But I think it's a lifelong journey,
It is.
truly, and something you kind of spread to others. I
It
feel
is.
free knowing you,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I agree with you. And I think that I love how you talked about like financial freedom and, personal freedoms and things like this. And I think when I think about freedom, it's living my life on my own terms. It's living my life on my own
Mm.
terms. I'm part of we're part of a collective reality, but then there's my own individual reality, my own personal reality. And when I saw this quote, it really made me think about what are some of the things that I have had, what were some of the times in my life that I had to forget what I felt and remember what I deserved. And I wrote down some things because I said, I want to get personal with this because this is really important. I had one of the biggest, I think, moments of freedom for me was realizing that one of the things I deserved, what I need, wants and needs, is I need to have reciprocity in my life. I need to have reciprocity in my relationships. And I'm going to speak as a woman. I will say that,
Mm.
I have witnessed many times as women, not speaking for every woman certainly, but more so the women I've encountered and worked with as a coach or as a nurse practitioner or just myself, we have this habit of making excuses for people and accepting things for long periods of time that have expiration dates on them, but we're still consuming them. We're still in relation. And one of the things I didn't really understand was how much I need reciprocity in my life. And I held on to relationships and friendships way past the expiration date because of the feeling. Well, we've been friends for so long. Well, this person helped me out with this such and such. Well, this person was so supportive. I should, right? So we just should all over ourselves, right? I should stay here. I should, you know. And one of the biggest aha moments for me that ties into that quote, I had to forget the feeling of obligation. I had to forget that feeling of feeling guilty. I had to forget feeling like I owed someone something just because they were kind to me. If they chose to be kind to me, that is a very good thing, but I don't necessarily owe that person a lifelong commitment or relationship, especially in the absence of reciprocity. And I was writing in my journal and I said, I had to learn how to release relationships, release friendships, and not from a place of anger and bitterness, but releasing as in the knowing that the relationship has lived its full life. Kind of like what you were saying with the trees, just intuitively knowing that it is time to let this go and forgetting about the feeling that I had because we get so tied down to things because of the feeling. The job, I've been here for so long, I should just stay. The relationship, whatever it is. So that quote really resonated for me. And What was happening for me is I was constantly pouring out. I'd be that person who's on the phone for 1 hour with someone, and the last 5 minutes I get to speak about me, right? It'd be 50 minutes worth of this person going on and on about themselves, and I'm holding space. And this person would be, or people that, over the course of time, and these patterns repeat. And I saw this as a repeating pattern. Why am I always holding so much space for others? 50 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, and just getting this much time to talk about myself, to celebrate my wins, to talk about my progress. So forgetting that feeling of obligation, of fear, of letting go of this relationship. What are they going to think? What are they going to feel? What are they going to say? And falling into the freedom of knowing that my needs matter, you know.
Absolutely. How powerful. And thank you for sharing that. And it's that's just such a powerful lesson. And I'm happy that you've taken that time to make the necessary steps. I think it's all a matter of where you would like your energy to go. And I know we've spoken about this before in depth, but it's all a matter. We've got 24 hours. We've got this, thankfully, able body, right? We have this able mind. Who deserves to have access to that? And I
Yes.
think it, right? I like how you kind of expressed they did a friendly thing to you, but does that mean that they need to hold this really high kind of priority or place in your life? Not necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can spread joy and kindness and love and compassion and empathy with people, but it doesn't mean that when they don't call, right? Or, oh, I was hoping we would hang out soon and they don't, right? That it's this big plummet or impacts us in that way. I think it's important to just kind of accept things as what they are and not what we want them to be. And I'm really just happy that you've taken that time. And I am there too.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
definitely there too.
Right.
And it's hard again, as you mentioned, like as a woman specifically, um, it's easy to not hold people accountable. Excuse me, it's not easy. It's in our nature
Mm-hmm.
to kind of just go with the flow and right be non-confrontational, but at what cost to us, right? That's not truth. That's not living in our true purpose. And
Exactly.
um yeah, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
And to your point, it is a process. It is a process. And how do we fall into that freedom? It really takes intentional thought. You don't want to be doing things through from a place of resentment or anger or things like this. I'll tell you where else it showed up in my life,
Mm,
excuse me, is was in my work. That was another big area where I had to forget how I feel and remember what I deserve. I, for a long time, would think, gosh, and I know you have experienced this. If you've studied a certain thing, you went to university to study this, you should be doing that. you know, people say to me often, gosh, Angel, you do so many things. How do you do so many things? What I realized is that I deserve to have work that feels fulfilling to me, that makes me feel purposeful, that gives me joy. And because I'm so tied to everything in nature and nature is so diverse, I need diversity in my profession, in my work life.
change.
I need change. I
Hmm.
need change. I need space for creativity. This is my creative work. And so I deserve to have that. I deserve to go to my work feeling happy about what I do and having a sense of balance to what I do and not feeling a sense of obligation. And, we talk about burnout and things like this. This perspective is what has sustained me over a 30-year and counting career because I'm constantly switching up. I'm always pivoting. And it
You
isn't
granted yourself that freedom
right, falling
and
into
you
freedom.
didn't look back, and again, right, there's these responsibilities, there's all these things. We have to pay our bills, but do we have to pay them that way? Maybe we should take time to figure out what we're passionate about. And I think that was what brought about a really big pivot for me, career wise, before I even really got into, like, God forbid, I actually ended up in doctorate school, and it would be really much harder to stop. But you have to take time to figure out what fuels you and what you feel passionate about. We've all got to work.
Yes.
Right. Well, not everyone, but we've all got to work to maintain our lives. Might as well do it. Do something that brings you joy. And work is work, but you should leave feeling like full. Right.
Yeah.
I really sat with myself and I was like, there's never a world where Mariah is happy working in a cubicle on a laptop in a gray and white walls, no
Mhm.
windows.
Mhm.
I need nature. I
Yes.
need the sun. I need change, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think it can be hard, again, like you said, when you're really comfortable somewhere, comfortable in that relationship,
Mhm.
comfortable in that work environment. You think you're comfortable,
Yeah.
but comfortable, no, I don't think that equates.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us all to ask ourselves that question.
Mhm.
Do I feel free here?
Right.
And if not, figure out what that free feels like. And maybe it's small decisions and not your career at this time.
Mhm.
Maybe it's simply wearing a brighter color than you typically do. And
Mhm.
then you go to the bathroom, you see yourself, you're proud of yourself, right?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It comes in big and large
Yeah.
uh, forms.
Yeah. And I think too, to the point about burnout, because we hear a lot about that. Sometimes it's not even switching careers or leaving a career. Sometimes it's changing our own habits. And, that's what we're talking about falling into freedom. What do we need to let go of? What are some of the habits that we have that are impeding our ability to feel that sense of freedom? Are we volunteering for things in the workplace that someone else really should be doing? Are we quick to raise our hand and say, oh, I'll do it? Meanwhile, you know that you're tired. You're always and only the person who's doing whatever that is. What are some of the habits, even in our relationships, marriages, where, oh, I'll clean up the kitchen, knowing good and well that, maybe it's someone else's turn to do the dishes or clean up the kitchen. What are the habits we have of not speaking up for ourselves and advocating for ourselves? This is this season right now to really dig in deep and think about where do I need to feel a greater sense of peace and joy and happiness and fulfillment and purpose and freedom from these emotions, these feelings, these habits that I have that are not getting me closer to the life that I deserve to live. This is a perfect time to think about, what do I need to change? What do I need to let go of? As I go into this season where I need to be conserving my energy, you were talking about this earlier about getting into the winter months and the trees conserving energy. We need to be conserving our mental and physical and spiritual energy. And so, what is it time for me to let go of? What responsibilities? What mental, you know, saboteurs?
Yeah,
All
and
of it.
you mentioned earlier the word like reciprocity, and I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would kind of say that that's a pillar for you, right? Like that's something in your life that really, really matters. And I think if you don't, and I would agree, that's one of mine as well,
Hmm.
that I've discovered over the past couple of years. But take time to dig deep in what actually matters to me.
Hmm.
And reciprocity is a really big one. Most
Yes.
of us, again, we have a hard time holding people accountable to those things, but maybe um, they don't have that even to offer you, right? So
Mhm,
you're in the wrong environment
mhm,
that is not going to serve your needs. And
mhm.
it's okay to up and move and to change because, like you said, literally at a cellular level, we are meant for it. We
Yeah.
can do it. We're very capable of it, but it can be easy to forget.
Mhm,
And I think it's just a matter of getting in practice with those with those things
mhm.
instead of jumping. Oh, who can do right automatically?
Exactly.
Naturally,
Mhm.
oh, I can do. Pause and say, whoa, wait,
Yeah.
I won't say anything this time. And I bet you everyone's going to look and wonder why you're not. And that's okay because
Right.
you get to redefine yourself, right? And I think
You get to
that's a big thing that
redefine.
nature teaches me.
Yes.
You
Yes.
get to redefine yourself.
Yes. And our guest, Miss Tamara, she said, fall is my freedom from excess heat and cold, free to enjoy the changes in the tree colors, opening windows, the simple joy. So, to your point, Mariah, what you were saying, like those simple pleasures that just bring so much happiness. I love that she added that. And Renette said, I struggle with letting go of friends, jobs, even when I know it's time. Releasing is a bit hard. You want to speak to that, Mariah? I
Yeah.
100% agree
Well,
with
thank you
Renette
guys.
about that. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for commenting and kind of offering your own personal experience and feedback. Renette, nice to meet you, see you virtually. Um, but it can be so hard. And again, I think it's a matter of creating habits,
Yeah.
right? Small decisions over and over and over again become habits, and then they become a part of your practice.
Mhm.
I've been saying to myself lately, no is a full sentence.
Oh, yes.
No is a full sentence, Renette. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay for your body to naturally feel fearful of saying that alone. But
Mhm.
when you start to practice it, it becomes easier and easier. And it's those small things. And again, bringing it back, like as women, we hold so much. I mean, we are literally already a part of the earth, but the moon, right? A
Mhm.
lot of our hormones and such are influenced by so many things. We are complex.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's important to be, again, picky and intentional about the environment you're in,
Mhm.
right? And that's what you're consuming, the people you expose yourself to. And it's easy to get attached,
Mhm.
but that freedom that you feel when you start to one decision, one area of your life at a time, let
Mhm.
those things go, it becomes easier. But it doesn't get easier if you stray away from it and don't do it, right?
Right.
I think it literally takes practice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's going to be a little turbulent in the beginning, but you'll feel so free. Whatever it is you're looking to let go, even that idea being planted in your head,
Mhm.
make a list of what those things are and slowly work at them. Don't see them as a project that needs to
Mhm.
be completed by December 1st. See
Mhm.
it as I am here today on September 18th, and what can I do to let go, even if 2%,
One small thing. Yes. One
one
small
small
thing.
thing. And I think you'll get used to it. It's still hard, but
Mhm.
you'll
Mhm.
be more in practice with it. It'll be more habitual the more that you incorporate that into your life.
I agree. And I wanted to just say to our viewers, we're going to be
Hmm.
giving the new little show format. We've got some tips, tools, and strategies for you after every show. So I want you to check the show notes. There'll be a link where you can get our journal prompts. And we've even got some really good affirmations. I put together affirming release. So, for those of you who really work with affirmations and understand the power of repetition and really training your brain to rewiring your brain and training your brain to think different thoughts, because you can do that. I have this gift for you. So, after every episode, you'll be able to download the affirmations for your practice. I am a very, very, very big believer in journal practice. And specifically, Renette, when you mentioned how difficult it is, this is where getting through that difficulty, this is where journaling can help with getting through that difficulty because you begin to see patterns. The more you write, the more you explore these feelings, the more you see. And I want to share with you this one here, just a little quote: wants and needs. Part of taking responsibility for ourselves means taking responsibility for what we want and need and knowing that it's okay to do that. Learning to tune into ourselves, learning to listen to ourselves is an art. It takes practice. We can use our ability to guess what others want and need and apply that skill to ourselves. And as Mariah says, as women, we're very skillful at anticipating what other people need and want. But what does it sound like for us? What would we guess would help us feel better? What are our feelings telling us? Our body, our mind, our
Mhm.
intuition. If we ask, then listen closely, we will hear the answer. We are wiser than we think, and we can trust ourselves. What we want and need counts. It's important and it's valid. We can learn to identify what we want and need and be patient with ourselves while we are learning. So, this, as I said, will be your tool, your journal tool for this episode. And I've got some affirmations for your practice as well to go along with getting over that hump because this is not easy.
And I,
It's not.
it's so not. And I am so grateful that you put that together. And I can't wait to sit with it more. And I'm sure others feel the same. I think part of letting go is understanding too, what is it exactly that you're clinging to in that place, in that person, to that thing? What is it? That, what is it? Because chances are it's probably not something they have to offer you, but rather something you can offer yourself, right? But how beautiful. I and please, Angel, can you remind me of the comment that you mentioned right before? I'm sorry,
Oh, the
before
quote.
her. Was
Sometimes
it
we have to.
Tamara?
Oh, yes,
No, to
yes. Oh,
whomever
yes. Oh, yes, yes.
and what they express. I
Yes, she shared, fall is my freedom from excess heat and
Yes,
cold, free to enjoy the changes in the trees' colors, opening windows, simple joys.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
soft
yeah,
fascination.
exactly,
The
exactly.
soft things, the simple
The
things.
simple
Everything can
things.
feel so heavy and complex, and those small acts against complexity and more to the simple things, I think that is work. Like
Yeah,
that's good work.
that's
That's
good
my
work.
favorite kind of work, honestly, I
Yeah.
guess.
And I find that feeling to, I want to touch on Renette's point too about the letting go of the friends, because usually for me, what that would feel like is
Mhm.
fear of loneliness. You know, better to hold on to the few people that I identify as friends because what will I do if, we don't want to think that we're just clearing house and well, what will I do when I want to go to the movies or what will I do when and it comes down to really stepping into that freedom of knowing quality over quantity and really filling in those spaces. I have done for myself personally with more nature immersion. So more solo walks, more
Yeah.
walking by myself, or more, play dates outside, or taking my yoga mat outside and saying, I'm going to do some yoga or such and such. But that freedom that I now feel from that sense of obligation and holding on to relationships where there's just no growth or reciprocity, it has been very, very liberating for me. It has truly been so liberating. And getting here was not easy, you know. It was not easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's actually through pain that we get to this place of freedom. You know, one problem or falling out or, friendship that just goes sour and you're like, okay, I can't keep doing
And
this,
I think there comes a point where it hits you, right? Your intuition, you have this inkling that goes, "Oh my God.
Mhm.
You could be with them in that moment. You're like, oh my God, this does not feel right. This is
Yeah,
not serving me.
yeah, yeah,
Act
yeah,
on that. I think the power is in acting on those feelings, because
exactly.
the more that you treat yourself with that care, right? And you go, okay, self, I did hear what you said. We don't want to feel that way. We want to be around people who help us feel full
Mhm,
and encourage our growth, right? When
mhm.
you feel those feelings, like like you were saying, journal, write them down, and then act on them. I think it can be hard to kind of go from thought to action immediately. You don't want to say, hey, I have to go, this doesn't feel great. But
Right.
maybe it brings about a question, a deeper question that you spend more time with, right? And you kind of work towards. It's a process, and the pain, you definitely will go through a process of like grieving, depending on, I think, the duration and the depth or lack of
Mhm.
the friendship,
Yeah,
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 or
yeah.
whatever it is that you're letting go of.
I agree. And I think that, we talked about this a few episodes about flourishing, and we talked about pollinators, who are the pollinators in our lives.
Yeah.
I know that just like the trees are releasing their leaves and letting go, and the new leaves are going to come in, I do know that when we create that space in our lives by letting go of things that are no longer serving, where the relationship lacks reciprocity, we really do make space for more beautiful things to grow. In my
Quite
case,
literally.
it made space for me to remember the more important people in my life, my friendships, those friends who have always been there for me, who have always shown up. Yourself, Mariyah, you remember when we had our lunch at the office, just
Oh, that was
when
beautiful.
you make space, things grow. In the garden, in the home setting, in your work, whatever.
The
You
clearing.
cannot have growth in a place where there is no space.
It
Where
can't live there.
it can't
It
live
won't
there.
live there.
It
That
will not.
goodness
Yeah,
that the future has to offer, it's waiting for you to make the space for it. And
exactly.
again, I think
Yes.
that's our work environments. I
Yes.
think those are our relationships.
Hmm.
I had to, before meeting William, I literally had to clear space,
Yeah.
get rid of the nonsense, and like,
Yeah.
what what woman do I want to be? What does my partner look like?
Hmm.
Who are we making space for? And you start kind of envisioning that. But that first inclination is something to, is a deeper, is a call to action,
Hmm.
almost. There we go. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And oh gosh, this is so good. I think we
Yeah.
talked about this ahead of beforehand. I think we're going to stay with this theme for October because there's so much that I want to say about that, because you just spoke about the second part of letting go is calling in. What are we calling
Whew.
forward into our lives? Who do
Into
I
this.
need to, yeah,
Hmm.
who do I need to become in order to have the things that I want to have? If I want to be a CEO of a, you know, six-figure or seven-figure business, well, a CEO of a six or seven-figure business is not going to spend the first hour of their day scrolling on Facebook, right? So I have to be a woman who has more discipline, who can step away, who can say, okay, that's not a good use of my time.
Discipline.
Discipline. I have to be a more disciplined person, right? If I want to, let's just say it's any other goal, if I want to retire at whatever age, I have to be a person who is more disciplined with my spending in order to. So it's who do I need to become in order to
Mm.
call this forward in my life?
Yes. And what are these things that we need to surrender and get rid of, literally, to become our best self? Again,
Yes.
I think I said this in the beginning, but it's not about motivation anymore for me.
Mhm.
I don't wake up every day and feel motivated. No. It's about, what are my routines? When I don't feel good, do I sit in that and sob in that, or do I implement all the practices that I know empower me to be able to face the day,
Exactly.
to, right? journaling, reading, simply meditating for 5 minutes, lighting my favorite candle, breath work, right? I could go on, but it's about sticking to those things even when you don't feel like it. And I think social media has brought up a bigger conversation in myself, in my life, and friendships about kind of this instant gratification,
Mhm.
right? We want some sort of instant reward or instant feel good. It's not always going to be that way,
Yeah.
and you have to put in the work, and just stay present with yourself. And when it feels tiring, I remind myself, this is myself, like my relationship with Mariah is the biggest project I will ever work on. And the good thing is, it's lifelong.
Mhm.
I don't have to have it all figured out right now at 27.
Mhm.
We've got time, and I
Mhm.
don't care if you're 77 or 90, whatever, 47. You have time.
You
You
have
have
time.
today to transform your reality.
Absolutely.
But you
Absolutely.
have
And
to let go.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned it's not about motivation anymore. It's not about how I feel because I'm not always going to wake up feeling like going to the gym, exercising, doing my meditation, doing my practices. I'm not always going to feel like it. I have to forget about how I feel and I have
Hmm.
to remember what I deserve.
Deserve.
And I
Mm.
deserve a life that gives me joy, that feels peaceful, that feels productive, that feels like I am my best self. Not necessarily becoming my best self,
This
but
is what my
I
best
am,
self looks like.
yeah, this is what my best self looks like and feels like today. And then when I go out into the world, I get the opportunity to present my best self to the world. That is my gift to the world. That is my freedom. That's falling into the freedom
Mm.
to be me because now I am embodying my best self.
I love it. I mean, I feel like drop
Yeah,
mic. Like
yeah,
that was I bringing it right back home.
yeah, yeah.
It's up to you, and you can do it. And you have to trust yourself, just as the trees trust themselves year after year, day after day during these transitional times. You have to trust yourself. You're all you've got.
You've all
We've,
you've
we've got other, right? We've got support systems. We've got a lot of support, but no one spends time with. No one knows you like you do. So give yourself what you know you deserve, and not
yes,
what you feel like in the moment, and you'll
exactly.
be freer.
Yes, yes, yes. So Mariah is going to take us home with just a final word, but I want to say to again that these affirmations will be there for you in the downloads and your wants and needs reflection, your journal practice. Okay, you guys have homework when you come to Soil, Soul, and Spirit. You've got some homework. But this is good work because you are always your most important project. You, as Mariah said, you are your most important, most valuable, and most precious asset. And this is work that is worth doing. So I would love to invite you back again this same time, same place next month
Mhm.
after you've done your journaling. And, we're going to
Same.
continue this conversation about falling into freedom and talking about what it looks like to call forward what does it mean to call something forward in your life? What does that look like? How can you create that as a
Right,
ritual
once you've
practice?
let go and you've cleared out and you've made the space, intentionally bringing forward
Exactly.
those things.
So that'll be in the links, and there is a wonderful part of YouTube that is a community. So if you slide over, there's like videos and then shorts, and then there's community. And since you all are here every month with us, why not just join us in this community by leaving a little comment, getting your downloads, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the announcement that we're coming on. And I think we're building something really beautiful. So thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. And Mariah, if you will take us home, that would be wonderful.
Yes, just wanted to say thank you all for being here. Like Angel said, please participate in the handouts. that will be given and all. And thank you for being here. Remind yourself every day that just as the trees trust themselves, you should too.
Yeah, you should
You know
too.
more than you think you know.
That's right. So forget about what you feel and remember what you deserve. You deserve to
Yes.
fall into the freedom to be your very best self and to design the life that you truly deserve. All right. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. I'm going to look, Mariah, and see if there's anything else. I don't
Yeah.
think so. So, good night, everyone. Please
Good
do
night.
us a favor and share this broadcast with someone that you know who's looking to fall into freedom as well and who might like to join us on the third Thursdays for Soil, Soul, and Spirit. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye.